So to create a backdrop, you'll just click the icon down here saying choose a backdrop. We decided to choose a backdrop that was given to us by Scratch. So in order to start your game, it will be ideal to create all your backdrops, and then you can label them up here under costume. So for us here, we do have intro scenario. So our scenarios will give the viewer a brief description on how to play the game. So he has answer with smoke or refuse, and it gives you a description on what's about to happen. So you've just finished the school term and there's a massive party at John's house that aims to have fun before the final exams. So our backdrops, we've decided to create 4 scenarios targeting a different learning topic within the PDHP syllabus. Our 4 scenarios will mainly focus on drug and alcohol abuse and also driving under the influence. So for example, on how to create a backdrop and then put text in, I'll just show you a brief example. So choose a backdrop. I'll select one that's applicable with our scenario. So, they're going to travel to the house to enjoy. So the backdrops always start down here, and it's already displayed as Night City. So for example, I'll type scenario 1. Okay, and I click the T for text, and I'll start typing away. Okay, start game, just briefly. Okay, so you want to write your scenario here to give the viewer a brief description on what's about to happen. So if we go back up here, that's our scenario. So ideally you want to create all your scenarios beforehand, so you can also allocate your backdrops afterwards on what's going to happen. So this one I also have labeled here party, because in scenario 1 you're going to attend the party. Okay, and so forth. So all the allocated ones afterwards. So you want to have this ideally written up beforehand. So it's just a better way to organize the game, and then the coding that would follow afterwards. We want to first add in sprites. Okay, so wondering how we get the click start button at the start of the screen. Okay, so you would come down here to the bottom right icon. It says choose a sprite. Okay, under the cat's head, you can either search a sprite, create one with paint, give a random one, or even upload your customizable one. So for example here, once you've created one, which I have done in paint, that will be done with the shapes and the text box. It creates it all in one. So you want to head to code, okay, and then if I also click onto my sprite name, I'll click 1, okay, and that is this one here. I should have labeled it start button, so here we are, start button. Okay, just a better way to label it and to identify which sprite icons belong to which one. So it can be overwhelming here when you look at the codes, so you do want to mess around with them. Each code that does categorize the ability of them. So for example, if we go events, it pretty much tells the demand of the sprite. So we want to start as simple as we can. So when backdrop switches to our start menu, okay, which is our backdrop, we want it to show. Okay, I've just put it in these coordinates so I can locate it here just for the aesthetics. Also, okay, we want to hide it from every room just to avoid the sprite appearing in different backdrops. So I can show here when backdrop switches to correct choice, wrong choice, it will be hidden, and we only want it to show on where it's supposed to, which is the start menu. Okay, and then it says press space, so we want to give it a command as well. So you can either do when sprite is clicked, or we just chose one. When spacebar is clicked, switch to the intro scenario, and then afterwards hide it would be the command. We've done finishing the coding of our continuing buttons, more or less, of our sprites. We can just proceed here. So here is our new screen that we wanted to attend to. So if you didn't see the text box here, it said, "Hey guys, you should really try a cigarette. It definitely helps me take away the stress of the end of your exams." Okay, so we want this sprite here, which is labeled character 1, just where we've created our previous sprites. And a good way of identifying if you're coding the sprite itself or the backdrops, you'll see this bit transparent icon here, which can differentiate what you're doing. So it shows here backdrop switches to party. We want this icon to be shown. When this icon is shown, play the party noise just for aesthetics. You can find the sounds here in this tab. Select the noise. And then you can always select sounds from here and it will automatically pop up as party noise. So after that, you've selected that. You can give your sprite to say something. So we set our brief description. Then we have the initial question, "Hey guys, do you want to smoke the cigarette?" Being a choice game, as we described on the previous intro scenario screen, gives us two options. So we can either refuse or smoke it. Okay, so we'll try and be bad and we'll smoke it. Okay, you can see if I'm going to smoke it, it's going to select to the wrong choice screen. If we just select the correct answer, it's going to go to the correct choice backdrop. And it plays that. The incorrect choice, the wrong choice. How did we end up back to this backdrop to get a second chance to answer the question correctly? So we want to go back to our stages. You can see here we're selected on it. Okay, we want to go backdrops. Select down to wrong choice, because we have previously seen that once you answer this sprite, it will allocate us to this one depending on your answer. Okay, so we can go here, zoom out for you. Okay, so also when we are coding the backdrops, it's going to show all the backdrops in general. Doesn't just lock onto this one here. Okay, so it's a bit deceiving when you're trying to code. So as you can see here, it mentions each backdrop here, and this can be tricky. So that's why it's very important to label them their correct name. So we can say wrong choice. Okay, so back to here, wrong choice. Obviously you want to play a sound to let the viewer that it's, the wrong choice, and we'll wait 5 seconds. Then we want to switch back to the party scene to give the player a second chance to correct themselves. Since we have made the wrong choice and it's jumped us back to the party screen, which is this one here, we want to then rethink our decisions and make the correct one. So if I was to type refuse, okay, enter. That is the correct choice, and we switch to an explanation screen to teach our students why. Okay, so we give a brief description here. Okay, then we want it to have a smooth transition just to our second scenario. Okay, so you can also label it here, switch to backdrops scenario 2, and then we can proceed. We do have scenario 2. And we can see here in the red text, it does say select your choice. Okay, so as I said before, this game does switch on typing the correct answers to selecting 2 options provided to you. Okay, so we have a brief description here. Okay, we do have the same sprite, okay, which allows us to continue between the backdrop screens. Okay, so if we click to continue, it's 2 other sprites giving you a brief description, okay, and they're having more or less of a dialogue between each other. After that, it gives us select your choice, and we see here 2 options that we are provided with. Okay, but how did we do this? So first of all, each sprite, if we do want to copy it and replicate it, so these two are the same, they're just programs different, we can right click it and duplicate it. Then we'd have to code it differently to what it was before. Okay, so if we go back just to our selected backdrop, okay, so in this scenario, after scenario 2 will be room 1. I want us to find the two characters here having dialogues. They're both on hide, okay, but we can show one, I can show the other one. Okay, so in order to have them have a smooth transition pretty well between each other, you would want to code one. Okay, so it says here when backdrop switches to room 1, okay, even though this is automatically going because it's timed, we want the first gentleman, character 2, to say, hey dudes, let's go down to the water edge, those people seemed cool. We'll put that for 5 seconds. Going to the second person to finish the dialogue. When backdrop switches to room 1, we want it to show, so the sprite itself, we want it to show. We want him to wait 5 seconds because the other guy is going to say his line. After that, we've pretty much timed it well. He goes, yeah, that seems like a great idea. What do you think? Speaking to the student itself. We'll wait 4 seconds, okay, and then we'll switch to the backdrop woods, which is this one here. Okay, we are now faced with two sprites that are clickable, which will proceed to a correct screen or a wrong screen. Okay, so and I've also coded the sprites here, each character sprites, to be on hide, okay, where they're not supposed to be. Okay, easier way to do is duplicate. So we don't want him to show on the wrong choice screen. We don't want him to show on any screen. We're just going to duplicate and select the backdrop and where we don't want him to be seen. Okay, you can delete these when you're not done. So the choices, it's pretty much rinse and repeat as I said before.